Hi everyone, Matt here, and today we are playing HiveSwap FriendSim. When we last left off, we had finished Volume 15, and we are now starting Volume 16 of Cult and Captivation. You crash-landed on Alternia 16 long episodes ago. Sometimes you feel like you've been here forever. You've had many adventures and met many Alternians, and some, /all, /none, of whom have become your friends. But now, for some reason, you have a hunch that you're near the end of your Alternian travels. For one thing, you seem to be coming to the edge of the populated region you've been walking through all the time you've been here. For another, the intense craving that has animated you throughout your journey feels like it may be waning. It's not quite gone, but like a diner who's stuffed himself to bursting, but is still seeking that last sweet morsel that will make his meal complete, you're still on the prowl for the very sweetest morsel of friendship. Father Bellies or Marvis Exalato. I'm going Father. Ooh, the background is animated. Roughly. The night has turned foggy, and you can't see far in any direction, but you seem to be surrounded on every side by bare ground, hummocked and pitted, almost like a weird abstract sculpture and covered with greenish moss. Based on the experiences you've had with Alternian flora, you imagine the moss is probably poisonous, acidic, explosive, or something of that nature. Suddenly, a shadow looms up out of the darkness, making you jump, but it's only a leaning signpost. As you move closer, you can see that the sign says, "Welcome to Happy Absence Pit Park." Before you can figure out what that might be, you hear a voice muttering to itself in the fog, and a sound like dirt being shoveled. Shovel, toil and trouble, low bloods of the world, unite. Move cautiously toward the voice until the figure of a troll emerges from the fog. It seems to be digging in the hard, bare ground. There is a tide in the affairs of trolls, which, taken at the floods, leads on to the worker's paradise. Clear his throat, and the troll turns swiftly. "Who's there? Who's there, I say?" You announce soothingly that you're just poor wayfaring stranger. Not a ghost or any nonsense like that. You confirm that you are not. Good, because I don't believe in them. I'm a dialectical materialist. Well, if you're not a ghost, who are you? Explain that you're a humble alien who recently, well, not so recently, crashed on Alternia, and who's been looking ever since for. Here you blushingly trail off into a mumble. The troll snorts and comes close to study you. His breath is not of the freshest. An alien? Well, you are the color of cheese. That could be makeup. You could be high blood in disguise. Come to watch poor little Father Vel is pursuing his humble profession of perturber for some unknown reason of your own. Father rubs at the exposed skin of your arm to see if the makeup will come off. It doesn't, but he's still suspicious. Real alien would know what outer space is like. Describe outer space to me. Describe attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion and watching C-beams glitter in the dark near the Hauser Gate. Express the belief that all those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain. These authentic depictions seem to satisfy Father. He nods his head and seems to think. He doesn't appear to be a fast thinker. Finally, he seems to have an idea. Do the cheese entities where you come from have a strong consciousness of class struggle? I have no idea what he's talking about. You were always good at guessing the right answer on multiple choice tests. You assure him that the people where you come from have a strong consciousness of class struggle, that they use it to jack up their cars when they get flat tires. A big smile overspreads Fozzer's face, and he pumps his fist in the air. Pleased to meet you, comrade alien. All power to the workers. I imagine that finding me performing the honest labor of the working class makes you feel right at home. You sure? That does. I suppose that you wish you could share in the simple proletarian joys and sorrows of the and oppressed classes. You're not sure what proletarian means, but sharing joys and sorrows sounds like a hopeful prelude to friendship. So you say you were just thinking that you would like to share that kind of joys and sorrows. Easily done, comrade. Here, take this soil perturbation lance. You can enter into solidarity with the Alternian working class right now. No, don't thank me. Freedom, brotherhood, and equality is my motto. Conduct your perturbations right here, if you please. He points to where he was shoveling, and you begin shoveling there too. The moss that covers the ground is tough as leather, and the Alternian soil is rocky, hard, and unforgiving. No surprise there. Before long, you're sweating profusely, but no exertion is too great for the pursuit of friendship. Fozzer watches your labor with brotherly satisfaction. Class solidarity is a wonderful thing, isn't it? From each according to his ability, to each according to his need. You look like a walking cheese, but your muscular development is impressive. So, just pass the time while you labor in solidarity. What do you think of our planet? What has your impression of it on your visit from outer space? You suppose it's no worse than a lot of places, with some good points and some bad. As I guess, it's only polite to say nice things about your host home planet. Besides, being Fozzer has stoked your desire for a sweet friendship morsel, and a little praise and flattery often goes a long way to make people like you. This is a bad option, I can tell. So with the little breath you have to spare from your taking, you tell Fozzer that you found Alternia most interesting. The fierce rush of life here induces a solitary wakefulness, and boredom is virtually unknown. Also, the social structure arising from the hemospectrum, the multi-dimensional relationship matrix, is very unusual, producing a fascinating array of possible interactions among people. You are looking forward to the day when you can tell your grandchildren about it. The Fozzer doesn't look as pleased as you hoped. So you find Alternia agrees with you. Oh yes, very much, you pant. You find it interesting and fascinating. Definitely. To you, the spectacle of those who happen to have been born with certain blood colors, exploiting and oppressing those who have not, is just a picturesque detail. Well, you wouldn't go so far as to find nothing objectionable in a society where the strong kill the weak at will, based on nothing more than the color of a bodily fluid, where the upper classes see the lower as more than an intimate where the upper classes see the lower as little more than inanimate objects whose only purpose is to serve them. Where the whole corrupt society is structured solely to breed cannon fodder for a psychotic empress's mad plan to conquer the entire galaxy, more peoples to oppress. It certainly wasn't what you... While the streets run with rust, orange, and gold blood, you stand unconcernedly and remark how interesting and fascinating Alternia is. While the fish people and their bluish lackeys strike the pap from the mouths of low-blood wrigglers, you smile pleasantly and remark how unusual Alternia is. Certainly not, but one can't judge other cultures by one's own. Oh, you can't dodge your class responsibility. That way, you cur. You so-called intellectuals try to hide your fawning servility to the bosses by pretending to view society objectively without moral judgments, when all the time you're simply crypto? Imperialist lapdogs. And you come to the Happy Absence Pint Park pretending solidarity with the oppressed. I see now that you're nothing but a cat's paw of the oppressor class. Nothing but a cheese-colored Judas Iscariot sent as a spy, traitor, bootlicker, sycophant, murderer, monopolist, profiteer, slave trader, cannibal, parasite, technocrat, gangster, ectoplasm. No, you try to object, but Father seizes the shovel from you and turns away. Turncoat, narc, double-crosser, weasel, hijacker, vulture, biggest goth, breathalyzer. You watch his back recede into the fog, your heart sinking with the wreck of your hopes and dreams for friendship. Game over. It's by far the worst place you've ever seen or heard of. Feeling comes over you suddenly that nothing can be more important than truth. Truth is at the foundation of all real friendship. Truth sets you free. Honesty is the best policy. There, that's better. It's quieter. So you take a deep breath, say that you hope you won't give offense, but that in your opinion, Alternia is the nastiest, ugliest, cruelest, most inhospitable, and most unfair place you've ever seen or heard of in a long life of travel and study. Even the plants are bloodthirsty. Even the soil is hard to meet. You've made many friends here, but you've heard it's also possible to make friends with lions, bears, killer whales, and other wild and dangerous creatures. In fact, often here on Alternia, you've felt that you've been locked in a cage with a bunch of such wild and dangerous creatures. As you've talked, you've been watching Father anxiously for signs of anger. You're surprised to see that, instead, he seems to be loving it. And what about our political system? You've already put your foot in it, so you go ahead and put the other one in too. You express the opinion that a violent, rigidly stratified, insectile social structure created solely to generate soldiers for a mad project to conquer the entire galaxy might raise eyebrows in some quarters. You admire natural selection and survival of the fittest as much as the next person, but this is overkill on a titanic scale. As you've been speaking, Father's smile has grown wider and wider, and he's shown other signs of approval, such as jumping up and down and whirling around. He pumps his fist in the air. Forward to perfect socialism. It's good to be talking with someone who hasn't been hypnotized from regular hood with counter-revolutionary pap. Someone who sees conditions on Alternia for what they really are, who sees the evil of the Highbloods. Someone who will march in the vanguard of the workers' revolution to face unflinchingly the onslaught of the aristocracy, perhaps, nay, probably, to die in a hail of bullets, but never turn their back on the people. Oh, what? Let me embrace you, comrade alien. He does so. He's oily. It smells like mossy soil and poor ooze. But this does not dampen your spirits. What better preamble for making a suggestion of friendship? Agreeing with people about politics never fails to bring friendship closer. But before you can bring it up, Father, having first kissed you on both cheeks, continues. But we mustn't allow our celebration of the people's revolution to interfere with the honest labor that ennobles us. I'm holding you back from your ticket to the workers' paradise. Please proceed with your soil perturbation. All power to the people. Death to arbitrary emospectral discrimination. Forward, comrade. He waves his hand with a flourish, and you start digging again. You wonder if it would be just as revolutionary if you trade places so Foster could do the digging, and you could do the speechifying. But you don't wish to disturb the perfect harmony now existing between the two of you. Instead, you use your little available breath to inquire what all this soil perturbation is in aid of. Why, of coal pit, of course. Didn't you see the sign? This is the Happy Absence Pit Park. Foster Bailey's proprietor. Alternia's reactionary tradition is to just dig coal pits anywhere, without second thought. But our revolutionary forward demands that we have more respect for the dead, so I've created this wonderful innovation, the Pit Park. There's a clown concert being held not far from here, so I anticipate a brisk demand shortly. Best to be ready for these things. Having a lot of dead clowns lying around rotting on the property is unpleasant, not to mention unsanitary. Get them underground pronto is our motto here at the Happy Absence Park. Wondering privately whether a little class solidarity can be extended to Purple Bloods, remembering your dear friend Carico Pyrot, when Father seems to give you a jump. No, that is not ghosts. Grateful for an excuse to stop digging, you turn to look in the direction Father is staring. Leaning out on your soil perturbation lance, you don't see anything but fog. You ask what is not ghosts. Nothing is. A dialectical materialist, and if any ghosts come around Happy Absence Pit Park, you should be aware that I won't believe in them, so they might as well go somewhere else. You confess that you don't see anything around but foggy darkness, and humped and pitted ground, where you now guess piles of cold Alternians' exoskeletons are buried in the coal pits. You don't see any ghosts because there's no such thing, but the past few nights I thought I saw beams of light shining up out of the ground. Almost as if, metaphorically, of course, some of the exoskeletons in the coal pit had gotten hold of some flashlights and were shining them up through chinks in the soil. Look, there it is again. This time you see it, a column of light that flashes up through the fog and is gone, seeming to come from a crack in the ground, which it briefly illuminates in blinding white. Fascinated, you move toward the crack, which is now dark and invisible again. What are you doing? Look at Father in surprise. He seems terrified. You ask tactfully whether he doesn't think you ought to see what that is. For example, it could be some infrastructure malfunction that could blow the Happy Absence Pit Park and all of its inhabitants, living and dead, sky high. You're not even sure they can have infrastructure in Alternia, but one can't be too careful. Well, maybe you're right. We are fearless revolutionary cadres, after all. And here his teeth chattering. You move toward where you think the flash came from. Bowser close behind you, peering over your shoulder. You can't help wondering where he'll be when the vanguard of his revolution is braving hails of bullets. You very much hope that his revolution, if it ever comes, won't happen while you're around. Just then, a whole series of lights flash silently up from the ground, making columns through the fog. Bowser jumps and howls behind you. Non-existent! You tell him there's undoubtedly a logical explanation, though you have to admit that you had a weird feeling just now when the lights appeared, like a momentary dizziness or feeling of discontinuity. But you're more curious than ever now. Murmuring comforting things to Bowser, start digging right around where the lights you just saw came from. Then it's weird, because you break through some kind of thin crust, as if the soil is in that particular place is just a few inches thick over a brittle surface. And your shovel goes right through like old pottery. Wonder whether you inadvertently dug into an old coal pit. But what would bright light be doing coming out of an old coal pit? And in some weird way, it doesn't feel like a coal pit. It feels like something metaphysical. Like reality itself is particularly thin right in that spot. And you've broken through the very fabric of it with your soil perturbation lance. You dig around the edges of the hole, largening it until it's about a foot wide. The darkness within makes the darkness of the Alternian night seem so bright by comparison. It's so dark that the soil falling into it and the part of your soil perturbation lance poking into it seem to vanish completely, as if the other side of the whole reality itself gives out. You and Bowser stare curiously down into this hole. Suddenly, blinding but strangely blank light bursts up out of the hole into your faces, and at the same time there's a deafening sound, which seems to vibrate the very framework of reality, like a gigantic needle scratching a gigantic record. Gurch! Standing in the foggy night holding a oil perturbation lance has been handed to you by Sir Vales. He points to where he's just been digging, and you begin digging in the same spot. The moss that covers the ground is tough as leather, and the Alternian soil is rocky, hard, and unforgiving. No surprise there. Before long, you're swaying profusely. But you feel strange, like you were just standing somewhere else, doing something else, seeing something else. The after images of a blinding light and a deafening sound seem to linger in your eyes and ears, but around you is nothing but dark fog and bare ground, humped and pitted. You must have had a dizzy spell. You shake it off and begin perturbing the soil. No exertion is too great for the pursuit of friendship, after all. Bowser watches you with satisfaction. Honest work is a wonderful thing. All hail the old regime, hey? You look like a walking cheese, but your muscular development is impressive. What do you think of our planet? What is your impression of it? What has been your impression of it on your visit? It's the worst place. As a guest, it's only polite. Tiny change. As you're speaking, a satisfied smile overspreads Bowser's face. Glad you recognize the nobility of our ancient society, with its orderly hierarchy and naturally evolved degrees of privilege reflecting naturally evolved degrees of ability. You're pleased that your words have met with approval, but you're still a little troubled. You have an odd deja vu sensation that this whole exchange could have gone quite differently. Maybe even did go quite differently sometime in the past, or in some parallel universe. You inquire timidly whether the total domination of the lower bloods by the higher on Alternia doesn't sometimes feel like oppression. Never. I myself am only a rust blood, so I lack the privileges of the higher bloods. But the most important thing for society is that everyone should be in their appointed place, do the things they're suited for. If all the passengers in a rowboat keep their seats and row in the same direction, the boat will quickly reach its destination, but the passengers all jump up and start running around and grabbing at the other's oars, the boat will capsize and all will be lost. Remark diplomatically that Alternia isn't a rowboat rowing toward a destination. You're wrong. The planet is very much like a rowboat advancing through the black water of space, and as for our destination, all of us on Alternia aim at but a single goal every hour of every day, to serve her most high imperial condescension, conquering her glorious galaxy-wide empire. Long live the Empress. Well, you suppose the sense of being part of something larger than yourself makes up for a lot. It does. Naturally evolved systems are almost always more robust than artificially designed ones. They are. And it's true that Alternian social structure does bring some semblance of the order to a collection of 12 disparate troll subtypes. It is. Foster beams at you fondly. There's nothing that warms the heart like someone who thinks you're right about everything. So wonderful to find someone, even someone who looks like a piece of cheese, who is so intelligent and understands society and politics so perfectly. Finally, a true friend. Victory. It's by far the worst place you've ever seen or heard of. The gun comes over. No doubt you could have anticipated that blunt honesty would give offense, and indeed it seems to have done so. To finish your remarks, Father is frowning darkly. So you've come to Alternia as an uninvited guest only to criticize and judge our civilization, eh? No. You know enough about our society, our billions of years of evolution, and our painstaking rise from mud-dwelling insectal ancestors and political and sociological theories of our statesmen, philosophers, and scientists to make those judgments. Do you? Well, no doubt you've done studies establishing what would happen if the hemospectrum groups were placed in different relations to one another. If, for example, rust bloods were the highest group and fuchsia bloods were the lowest? Well, no, but I suppose your planet is so similar to Alternia that you have a firm basis on which to apply your preconceptions to us? Not at all, but surely your aliens are similar enough biologically and psychologically to trolls to know how we feel about our own society? I thought not. I guess from the very first that you were nothing but latent fox socialist, pseudo-intellectual spouting your ivory tower theories without the least idea of what you were talking about. Well, smarty pants alien, I suggest that you take your cheese-like person and your theories home to your own planet. Won't be long before her most high imperial condescension conquers your arm of the galaxy, so that we Alternians can return the favor by standing in judgment over your society and politics. In the meantime, I bid you good Siderum. And within that Father Veles seizes his spoiled perturbation lance as well as your hopes and dreams and stalks off into the foggy night. Game over. Well, that will be all for this time on HiveSwap FriendSim. If you like the video, like it, and if you want to see more of my content, subscribe. And yeah, have a good day and do what you do best.